Welcome to the Performer Radio Show. Each week, we interview some of the most interesting people in the fashion and entertainment industries. Fashion and entertainment industries. Beautiful models, singers, comedians, dancers, fashion designers, actors, beauty queens, and many more. Right here on the Performer Radio Show.
And we're back for another Performer Radio Show. Brian Pitcher is in the house. Hey, Brian, how are we doing tonight?
I am doing good. I'm actually sharing out right now because I want everyone to get on this feed.
We're going to be.
Show that you set up
this
tonight.
is a special show for us here at Performer. Where we're located is QuinZEE, Massachusetts, and we've mentioned that so many times. Downtown QuinZEE, Massachusetts, right at the heart of QuinZEE. Okay, and yes, we're going to make sure we pronounce it correct tonight. QuinZEE. If you're from the South Shore of Massachusetts or from the city of QuinZEE, that's how you pronounce it, with a Z sound. Just so you know, and my name is Mike Zotos, so Z sounds are pretty easy for me, right?
Well, it's the Greek in you.
It's the Greek in me, right?
You got the Z.
You know, Brian, here's a little story about QuinZEE's story. The first church I attended was in QuinZEE. It was in Wollaston, St. Catherine's Greek Orthodox Church. They've moved, Wally World. They've moved to Braintree since then, a long time ago, but they have a beautiful facility in Braintree. But they were in Wollaston, right around the corner from the original Howard Johnson's. So people that are of our age, we remember Howard Johnson's.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the great places to go. Howard Johnson's was the family place to go to before McDonald's existed. Mm-hmm. Okay, you found them at every highway, rest stop, things like that, all over the country. So when you saw that orange roof, you knew, and you were driving into the parking lot, you knew you're going to have a nice little treat, right, with the ice cream and everything else like that. There's still, I think there's one Howard Johnson's hotel still left in this area, and it's actually right up the street in Hancock Street. Yeah, there's a Howard Johnson's there.
Well, they have the Howard Johnson's packing plant.
Yeah,
where the old hardware store is, where they're putting up the big apartments next to QuinZEE Adams. Used to be a distribution center for Howard Johnson's right there.
There you go, see?
And it was a big one off the highway before you got past exit 8, where everybody would go and park and get food late night. But they closed that because they got a little violent up there.
Interesting. And of course, QuinZEE, if we're talking about food, QuinZEE is also the birthplace of what other famous chain?
Another famous chain?
Yeah, this should be easy.
Dunkin' Donuts, bro.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, all right.
I mean, come on.
It's right up the street, the original
like right
Dunkin' Donuts. You know, there was a video circling the internet this week with like a drone shot of the original Dunkin' Donuts from above and talking about the history. Of course, we knew that.
You want to go back even further?
Well, we are going to go back further in just a little bit.
I want to.
We have a guest here that went way back, gathered his memories, and created a book out of it. It's called Growing Up QuinZEE. His name is Patrick Grimes, and he will be here in just a few minutes.
I would describe it more of an emotional, intellectual
Well, you've actually read it, since I have not read it.
I mean, it's just, like, you read it, you're like, transported. For me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for people that grew up here or around here, like me, I was a few miles away in Cohasset, but QuinZEE was the city that we related to the most.
Right.
Because we went to QuinZEE for so many things, shopping, bargain center, Remix, you name it.
Yeah.
So that was all. And matter of fact, your mother worked at the bargain center too,
Yeah,
right?
my mother worked at the
Yeah.
bargain center.
Yeah.
We tore down the Remick building. I rebuilt it. I was in the construction company that
Oh,
put
there
it
you
back
go.
together.
See? That's something I didn't know, but thank you for that.
Yeah.
And they're tearing down stuff
Well,
again now.
thanks.
Actually, the old Remix building is where it is
Right.
being torn down again.
Oh, yeah.
What was there after Remix. Okay, so it's being torn down again, and new stuff is coming up as usual around this area. There's a lot of new construction. We'll talk about that too afterwards. So how are you doing this week? Pretty good?
Good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just running around doing stuff. We're planning a big shoot on the vineyard this weekend.
Right.
A video shoot. Now they want to make it a bathing suit shoot. Like,
Well, you're not complaining, right?
it's going to be...
No,
Well, you know how it is. Like, we look at it, it's a little bit different. Everybody's like, oh, my God, you're going to the vineyard and staying in a mansion.
This is going to be Brian with every single
Yeah.
girl. You ready? Whoops, I forgot. What happened? I had
I don't
it.
know. See?
I had it.
Well, you know, it's difficult. Like, people look at the magazine, they're like, oh, that must have took no time. She looks great. And this, that, and the-
Oh, there it is right there.
How you doing?
There you go. That's
How you
Brian.
doing?
How you doing?
But you know, I mean, you get 10 models together, you get designers together, you get hair and makeup. It's like
There you go.
it's like wrangling chickens or cats, whatever way you want to do it. It's man,
Yeah.
you know. And then in the end, something beautiful comes out of it, and you're like, okay, cool, let's try that again. Like we forget. Yeah.
There we go.
But let's talk about the two first people that put QuinZEE on the map, and that was two presidents.
Right.
Okay.
And they're still here.
This used to be
They're
their
right
farm.
across the street still.
Well, not only that, they're here in spirit in the sense that they actually brought the libraries with them. So Thomas Green Public Library was a gift of the Adams family, which said that everyone has the right to be educated. Everyone has the chance to learn. And I remember even sitting in one of those libraries up in the old dusty rafters in the back, or they was like walking on like metal grates going up to the back books in the shelves, and you could sit there and read a book. And you couldn't go near the law library. That was the other section because you're a kid and they're going to ruin something. But it was an interesting place, and that was a gift of the Adams, saying that everyone has a right to be educated.
We're gonna talk more about QuinZEE too all year. You know why, right?
It's
Why?
kind of a celebration, Mike.
Yes.
I mean,
It's 400 years in 2025.
yeah, 400,
400 years. That's correct.
So you think our country hasn't even
1625
been
to
there that long.
2025.
Our country hasn't even been there that long.
Right.
And that's
Exactly.
why I say it goes back even further in the sense of, hey, listen, QuinZEE's kind of a big deal.
Yes, it is.
You know,
and it really
A lot of history.
Part of when you walk outside our studio, just to the left, there's a big giant new park, the Hancock Adams Park.
Right.
Okay, so John
Hopefully
Hancock
you've seen that.
had ties here, and another president was born very close to here. Do you know who that was?
Was it Braintree that they were born?
No, Milton.
Milton. I know I'm going to say no. I'm going to tap out.
Okay, George Bush Sr.
Dang it. I knew it.
Yeah, George Bush Sr. was born very close to here.
I
Not that far.
I had
Not
it
that
at
far.
the tip of my tongue. I'm like,
So really, this is the area of presidents.
well, it's the intellectual capital, I think, of our country. That's why I think
Boston area, yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
Boston area.
QuinZEE specifically.
Yeah, well,
QuinZEE has a great college. It's now QuinZEE College. It used to be
I
QuinZEE
went to
Junior
QuinZEE
College.
Junior College.
Yeah, it was
I went to
QuinZEE Junior College.
and
Now
then
it's
they called
QuinZEE
it-
College. They're expanding. They're actually now thinking about building a brand new building for them, the city, and because it's a city college.
Right.
But yeah, they've expanded a lot. They started out in the old QuinZEE High School. Was it the old QuinZEE High School?
The old QuinZEE High School.
The old
with
QuinZEE High
big
School.
blue windows and no air conditioning in the middle
There
of
you
the
go.
summer.
Right, it was an old building.
That was
too.
wonderful.
But then they took over a lot of President's Place.
Yeah.
That's what they took over. But you go in there now, they have a beautiful facility there.
Well, all of
Okay.
our schools are gone. I mean, Sterling's
The ones you
gone,
went
they
to,
ripped it
right.
down. QuinZEE's gone.
Yeah,
QuinZEE
QuinZEE High
Tech,
School is a
they're all
beautiful
gone.
facility now, brand new, and North
I know, my
QuinZEE.
niece-
North
my niece
QuinZEE
went
High
to
School is
school
still a
there.
little
I
on the
shot
older
their
side, but
graduation. Yeah.
they get some new great elementary schools, junior high schools. So yeah, and the build out of QuinZEE has been happening over the last maybe 10 to 15 years. We have the Nova residences,
It
the
hasn't
west of
stopped.
Chestnut there. We have literally about maybe 2 buildings down from us. They're tearing down all these old buildings and building a brand new facilities there, restaurants, retail, apartments, things like that. And also behind us, in what used to be the Ross parking lot and the Ross garage, is now going to have a lot of new
Badass.
places. It's going to have another parking garage, thank God for that. Another public parking garage, I should mention that.
Right.
So it'll be reasonable again. And yes, for people that don't know, if you come to downtown Quincy to visit one of the many unbelievable restaurants we have, Fuji, West of Chestnut, Alba, was a Pearl and Lime. There's a whole bunch of them, really. I could go on for like 10, 15 minutes about the restaurants in this area.
Where it all came from was Irish bars.
Yeah, well, that's the
It
start.
came from the sidewalk bazaar when they closed down the streets and everybody shopped outside.
And the Fours is out there too.
They had a Miss Quincy
Fours has been
Bay,
here for a long time.
And then Town River Yacht Club was part of QuinZEE Race Week, which Lipton sponsored for years, Lipton Tea. But QuinZEE Race Week, they had all the sailboat races. It was a sailing capital. Like my niece even went to their sailing school, and we spent time out, on the island. There's a mayor that has an island out in Quincy Bay. I don't know if you know this.
No, I didn't know
It's
that.
a real guy that runs the island out there.
Oh, really? Okay, so
and
the mayor of the
catch your
island.
stripers, and he's the mayor.
Okay.
Not
that's
the
good.
mayor, but he's the mayor of that island.
Mayor of the island.
And if you're not
okay.
from Quincy, he's like, yeah.
It's like saying I'm the president of the studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's two micro communities there, but when you were growing up, the sidewalk bazaar was like, you look forward to it all year long.
I knew
Like
it wasn't going to take
Christmas
much to get
parade,
Brian started today.
And then Miss Quincy Bay was kind of a big deal. And it was a prerequisite to be Miss Massachusetts.
Okay.
You had to win one.
We're going to have to put the brakes on Brian for just a second. I was going to try and talk about the parking. That's only $1 an hour. Okay. So, yes, it's only $1
It was
an hour.
free when I was a kid.
Well, yeah, it's still. Well,
So was clamming was free.
If you can find
and floundering was free. You didn't have to get a license.
If you can find a space, it's free. It's still free. There's no meters in Quincy, downtown Quincy. None. So if you can find a space, it's still free. But it is a little tougher to find a space because there's so many restaurants here, so many people are visiting, which is great for the area. Don't get me wrong. But for $1 an hour, come on. You can't afford $1 an hour? Well, go to Boston then.
Because
Pay
the taxes
$40.
from 1999, which were $1,095, to the taxes in 2024 is over $5,000.
Well, we'll talk about that.
You went up 20. You went up 20%. I mean, why do I have no money for the meter? I'll tell you why.
Well, I'm saying it's good for the economy when these people bring this money into the city.
You mean the city coffers?
And pay the taxes, the meals tax, and things like that.
I'll
And
never
by the way,
become
there
that.
is going to be a Trader Joe's behind us now.
I know. I heard about that.
Yeah,
That's good.
Trader Joe's.
That's good.
All right, so we're going to break with today's Daily Dose and Marlena Garcia. And when we come back, we're going to meet our guest, author Patrick
I
Grimes.
can't wait.
I know you
can't
can.
wait.
All right, we'll be right back.
Unbelievable. Alrighty.
Happy hump day, everybody. We can see that weekend light at the end of the tunnel. Have you made any plans yet? I know. We have a few more days to go. Here's what's happening on this day. Before his final episode this week, Pat Sajak sat down with his daughter Maggie in an interview covering his 41 seasons and more than 8,000 episodes as the man behind Wheel of Fortune. Sajak's daughter joined the Wheel of Fortune team as the show's social correspondent in 2021. In the exclusive interview, Pat Sajak said he was at peace with the conclusion of his run on the show and that he is enjoying the final week. He announced in June of 2023 that the show's 41st season would be his last. Alongside his famed television partner, Vanna White, Sajak has spent over 4 decades quizzing wheel spinners on fill-in-the-blank phrases. Weeks after Sajak announced that he was stepping down from his position, it was announced that Ryan Seacrest would replace him as host. Sajak's final episode hosting Wheel of Fortune will air this Friday on ABC. The episode will coincide with the Wheel of Fortune Season 41 finale. Actor Alec Baldwin and his wife Hilaria are the next family set to star in their own reality series. Baldwin, who has 7 kids under age 10 with his wife, announced the TLC reality show about their life as a party of 9. The Baldwins, the show's working title, is set to release in 2025. In an Instagram announcement video, the couple joked about Hilaria announcing another pregnancy, but she said they are done having kids before the clip cut to a chaotic shot of their children screaming and the parents struggling to wrangle the bunch for a group photo. The couple married in July of 2012 and welcomed their first child in August of 2013. Baldwin was previously married to actor Kim Basinger, who had his eldest daughter, Ireland. The announcement comes as Baldwin prepares for trial for his involuntary manslaughter charge in the fatal shooting on the set of the film Rust in 2021. The trial is scheduled for July in Santa Fe, and Baldwin has pleaded not guilty. The charge carries a maximum sentence of 18 months in prison. Now you're up to date with entertainment and fashion news. Hang in there until the weekend. I'm Marlena Garcia for Performer TV.
Okay, did you get all that, Brian? You're going to be quizzed on it later on.
You know what? It's funny. It's ingrained in my brain. I'm not going to forget it.
Okay, all right,
You
good.
know?
Good.
And there's other things that make people get transported to different destinations, and that's people who can write about their experiences.
Okay, he's doing the segue. That's great. All right, we're gonna
Just
introduce.
saying, there might be someone in the room.
Yeah, there might be somebody in the room. We're gonna introduce him right now. Patrick, welcome to Performer Studios. How you doing tonight?
I am doing great. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
There you go. Now, where are you living? Okay, Brian's already showing it. Let's take a look. Growing Up QuinZEE, Patrick Grimes. That quarry shot. How long ago was that? You in the quarry shot? I'm gonna know.
Well, okay, I have to tell the truth. Somebody put that together for me, and I said,
okay.
I want a picture of me when I was 14 years old. I'm wearing a Red Sox hat. I'm looking out of tabletop, and I'm watching some guys jump into a quarry.
There you go. Oh, okay, that's what it was.
And they did a great job, I think.
Yeah, the cover looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, so when did you you left QuinZEE when you were what? How old were you when you left QuinZEE?
Well, it's easy for me because it was 1977. I was born in 1950, so the math is really easy. So I was 27 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how long were you? So did you live here all your life? The first 27 years?
Most of the first 20. I came. It's a long story. It's in the book. But
Okay.
I had a single dad, and my dad came and got us. We were in a home for boys. I had a brother and a sister. He came and got us. We came back. I was in the 3rd grade, and I was in QuinZEE from the 3rd grade on till I graduated and after college.
Okay. So you graduated from QuinZEE High School.
Yeah, sure.
And where did you go to college?
I went Boston State College,
Boston State.
which is now UMass.
Oh, UMass Boston.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Was it in Dorchester at that time too?
No, it was on Huntington Ave, down the street from Northeast.
No, I went to Northeastern myself.
Ah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
I was a little bit later than you, about 10 years later, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, Huntington Ave was pretty cool back then. I loved it. Very good. It was a good experience to go to college. I didn't like. I was a commuting student though.
Right.
Did you commute or did you live on campus?
I did both. I commuted sometimes. I had to go through all that crazy traffic to get to Boston State, find a parking space by the fence.
So the traffic was even
Well,
crazy back then, huh?
Yeah, oh, it's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
And then, but which was close, by the way, Boston State College in the fence. It was close to Fenway Park.
Right.
So I might have missed 1 or 2 classes.
Yes. And tickets for bleachers back then were like just $5.
Yeah, cheap.
That's it. You could walk right over, Brian. There'd always be some seats available for $5. The hot dogs didn't cost like $15. They cost like $1 or $2. You know, that's all it was.
And
it
there's
was so
definitely free
enjoyable.
seat upgrades as when you're in the game. You just
Yeah,
gotta
yeah, they
scan
didn't
the
care.
area and
They
then
didn't care. You could
Yeah.
bring your own
walk
food in too if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Right.
Not anymore. They can't bring anything in anymore.
Can't bring
Oh,
can't bring real money in.
They
Can't
say
bring
it's
cash.
the pandemic and all the other stuff, but really, they're making sales.
They make you pay
Come
by
on, we're
card.
not stupid, you know.
Yeah, they make you pay by card. If you don't have a card, you're gonna get a special.
Yeah, right
card.
now, yeah, you gotta get.
They don't
So
even
of
take
course they
cash.
charge a fee for that too, don't they? Just like when you go to those places that says cash only, and they got an ATM sitting right there.
Patrick,
for
let's talk about your youth. Let's
Yeah.
talk about your. There's something about a pocket full of dimes and you jumping out bus windows. I gotta know about.
Go for it.
Explore that just a little bit.
Okay, I was a kid from South QuinZEE, and I was a poor kid from South QuinZEE, like many QuinZEEites back in the day. And so I had to make some money. So at 10 years old, you had a lot of autonomy back then, and I used to jump on a bus. Now, back in the day, for some crazy reason, you only paid when you went off the bus, wherever the destination was. So when we got to Kenmore Square, I'd sit in the back of the bus, and when everybody stood up to pay, that's when I'd open the back window and I'd jump out. And I'd jump out, and I'd be in Kenmore Square. I was going to go to the Red Sox game, and I'd sell the Record American. The guy got to know me, and I'd sell it for 10 cents, whatever it was. And after I was done, he'd give me a pocket full of change. I'd go up in the Citgo sign, and I'd watch the Red Sox game. In the 8th inning, I'd come down, and I'd sell the Record American final. And I'd get a pocket full of change.
You get them that quickly?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
They were very efficient
You
back
used to go on
then.
top of the Citgo sign.
Well, you know what? There was no
Get
traffic for
there.
the trucks
Yeah.
to get there and drop them off. That's what it was.
Right. It was great. It was great.
He would
was
jump
great.
out the window, Mike.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. That seems pretty dangerous to me, but that's okay. Fine. You must have been
Yeah.
pretty flexible to be able to bounce out like that.
Yeah, way back then. Yeah.
Yeah, back then, right.
Yeah.
Well, you're still in good shape now, Patrick. Come on.
If you're a real Red Sox fan, like he was,
Yeah.
necessity
Are you
is the
still a
mother
Red
of
Sox
invention.
fan? Are you still a Red Sox
I
fan?
am a Red Sox fan.
There you
still.
go. Of course.
Yeah.
You got to commiserate with the rest of us then.
yeah.
Well, it's either that or be a Rockies fan. Come on.
Oh, yeah. So he's in Colorado now. Okay.
I'm in Colorado. Yeah.
Are you in Denver?
I'm in near Boulder. It's called WINDSOR,
Windsor.
which you would say Windsor.
Yeah. What do you
You're
say?
from QuinZEE.
Yeah.
But we call it Windsor.
Windsor.
yes,
Okay,
we
I like
are.
that.
Proper
Windsor.
English language.
Windsor, Colorado. That sounds very scenic.
Well,
Yes, it
let's
does.
talk about your
Yeah.
childhood. Like you
Yes.
talk about, like all you needed back then, the simplicity of it was a ball.
That's all you need. Yeah.
I mean, tell me about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So one of my stories was called "A Boy and a Ball," because that's all you need. And so one day I was over at my friend Eddie's house, and we had a football, but it was flat, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
basketball, it was flat. So we didn't have any air puffs. We had nothing. We didn't know what we were going to do. So I had like 25 cents. We went to the drugstore. They had a pink ball, right? So we brought the pink ball and we cut it in half, right? After we threw it around a while, right? And then we invented this game, or at least we thought we invented it. I found out some other people did it. And we called it flutter ball. So when you threw the ball, it acted like a knuckleball. But if you threw it to the side, it was like a disc, right? And if you hit it just right, like a disc would just take off. So it was a great time. So yeah, all you needed was a ball. No social media.
yeah,
was a great time. It's a
So
great
you
time.
you hung out all day long outside,
Yeah.
and you had till the street lights came on usual to go back to Alfredo's where you were.
On top of Alfredo's.
Top of
That's where it
Alfredo's.
is. Yeah.
And and it was just so simple back then,
It was.
right? You could just if you just turn everything off, it's simple to have fun, right? I mean, that's what it's
Yeah.
all about, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
The only social media I had was the transistor radio. Do you remember all the transistor radios back in the
Oh
day?
God, I love those
Oh,
things.
my dad one.
I would
my
hide
dad-
one in my bed at night so I could listen to the games
Oh,
and things like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
With the little earpiece that they had.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to turn the radio, just trying to get the best signal all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, you know what's a funny story? My dad worked for John Hancock. He was a special for the city of Boston.
Right.
He was a cop. And he basically was a cop in John Hancock. He used to put a transistor radio in his pocket and put the thing in his ear. They thought he was like, had a thing for like, because he's security. He was listening to the Red Sox games all the time.
That's great.
You know?
That's great.
And because he was a cop, he had a badge. So he'd just go to Fenway Park if he got out early and walk right into the game. Because he was a Boston special. So you'd walk right in. He didn't even pay anything, you know? But yeah, transistor radios, that's all they had back then.
Yep.
you
Right?
know? I
In
mean-
every color. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
In any color you wanted. Yeah.
True.
Go try to
My
find a
father was the
transistor
same
radio at
way.
Best Buy now.
My father was also an avid Red Sox fan, and he used to hide the transistor radio from my mother so she wouldn't be able to see him with the little earpiece in his. And he was like, and she'd be like, John. He's like, whoa, what? She goes, you're listening to the game again, aren't you?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. He
Yeah, my
couldn't
dad, they
resist.
thought he was Secret Service or something like that. He was walking around.
Well, he kind of was, wasn't he?
Yeah. Secret Service.
You looked the part, didn't he?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
that's good. Hey,
Military guy,
the
high and
Boston,
tight, you
Boston
know.
and sports have always been a great combination,
Mm-hmm.
and still is. Tomorrow night we got the Celtics in the finals. You know, it is a championship city because we bond over sports
Oh,
here.
yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of the political spectrum you're on. If you're from the Boston area and you're like you grew up here, the sports teams become ingrained in your life, your lifestyle, your whole being.
Yeah, we didn't change
Your whole
colors
being.
either. We
That's
didn't,
right.
We were strong people. And let's talk about another thing from QuinZEE, being a strong person and doing crazy things as a kid. You remember the quarry spat?
Do I remember the quarry?
I mean, can you tell me something about that?
Yeah. Well, in West QuinZEE, they had the two quarries that I liked was Green Tank and Swingles. And so I was not an intrepid jumper. You had these guys who would jump 80 foot. I mean, it was crazy, right? And it took me a six-pack of beer. I guess my dad died, so I'm okay. So a six-pack of beer when I was a young man, right, not 21, right, to jump 35 feet. But yeah, the quarries are great.
It doesn't matter. You jumped high fence, and you had guts to do that. Like you jumping off, there's no lifeguards.
No.
There might be a log in the water.
Yeah.
Like you're jumping in the blackness, and then like I jumped off the Jaws Bridge last year down at Martha's Vineyard, and I'm like, I almost died. I felt like I sunk right to the bottom. But when we were kids, you could do anything. You know?
Right.
You
There's
could,
a lot more stuff in there now than there used to be.
Yeah, well, I
Well, they
mean,
drained a couple of them, right? Didn't they drain?
they drained swindles too.
Yeah, they did.
But like talking about his quarry days, like you go to talk to anybody else, they would never do something like that. They would never throw themselves off a cliff, over a bush, into a water where it had no ending. I mean, that's different. And it was on the cover of Time magazine in 1938 too. The Jumpers of the Quarries. It was actually the cover.
Oh,
Time
interesting.
Life. Yeah, it was a big thing. If you're from the city, and everybody would look out for each other, right, Pat?
Oh, yeah,
Tell
absolutely.
me about that. Tell me about the camaraderie. Like,
Oh, yeah. And, you know, QuinZEE kids were always crazy, tough kids, whatever. But when they got in the water, I mean, they'd swim around the water to make sure the guy that was jumping off the high jump was safe. They'd make sure he jumped and he came up, and then they'd make sure that he got clear, and then they'd yell out for the next jumper, clear, so the next jumper could jump out. And if anybody got hurt or anything happened like that, they were right there. You know, QuinZEE kids helped their own for that. Yeah.
yeah. So no matter what neighborhood you're from, Marymount, South QuinZEE, West QuinZEE, whatever, they looked out for each other. There was no lifeguards, no cops, no parents.
No, not
Because your parents didn't want you there, right? Like,
No, they didn't.
you were instructed correctly.
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So everyone looked out for each other. It was a small community, a small enough community that everyone looked out. And if you weren't from the area, there was even spray paint with certain signs that you shouldn't be there.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Interesting.
Yeah. So when we were little kids now, right?
right.
So when you're a real little kid, so your dad and your mom, I didn't have a mom, but my dad would tell me, hey, there's monsters in these places called QuinZEE, and they're hundreds of feet deep. And if you swim, they come up and they grab people and they just pull them down. You never found again. So that was it for me. I never went to the quarries until my friends told me there's no monsters, and I said, oh, right.
But what about Sigmund and the Sea Monster?
Right. Right.
Oh, by the way, your cousin Pat says hi. I mean, your cousin Diane says hi.
Oh, cousin
She says-
Diane.
Yeah.
Hi, Pat.
Hi,
Oh,
yeah,
hey, that's a Winthrop.
Cousin Diane, there
That's
you go.
Winthrop.
That's Winthrop.
That's Winthrop.
Oh,
Well,
she lives in
that's
Winthrop,
funny.
huh?
I lived in Winthrop till I was 8. And then my dad had moved. I was in Brighton, then I went to Winthrop, and I cried my eyes out because they were taking me to QuinZEE. I was like, I don't want to leave Winthrop,
Well, you got the beach and
At the
everything
beach,
else.
I
Yeah,
go clamming
exactly.
with my sisters, and it was, it was nice, and I knew everybody. And then we moved to QuinZEE, and it just took me a while.
Yeah.
And then we were running the show.
I think it was the same way. I was 7 when I moved from Westwood to Cohasset.
Yeah,
But then I saw
but you were in
Paragon Park. I was like, I'm
Go
right
ahead.
next to Paragon Park. I'm okay with this now.
Okay, so Paragon Park. I want to
Yeah.
tell you about this.
Go ahead.
My sister married a guy whose father was half owner of Paragon Park. And Paragon closed when we were there. But you were in the heart of the monster in Paragon, if I'm not correct, right, Pat? You were around when it was the heyday.
They closed when I was 24, 1984.
Right.
So
Yeah.
one of my stories, and not to plug the book, but
Oh,
there's
no,
no-
please, plug the book.
There's 90 short stories, vignettes in the book, and they were all kinds of memories, all right? So one of them is called Salt and Pepper, because Paragon Park was right next to Nantasket Beach. One with the other, right? Salt and Pepper. It was
Absolutely.
the greatest times of our childhood.
Absolutely. Like the rickety old, called the Grizzly,
Oh,
the roller coaster,
yeah.
the old tilt-a-whirl where people would barf on each other. You know,
The Kooky Castle. The
Yeah,
Kooky Castle.
Round up.
Yeah,
The
it was
Jungle
bad.
Cruise. They had like
bad.
a jungle, which was
But-
the Tunnel of Love earlier before that.
You had a great experience in there, and
Yeah.
you don't have to tell all of it, but like
Right.
you had an experience there that changed your life. The way
Yeah.
that you were brought up in the Cold War,
Yeah.
which is weird, right? Because
Yeah.
like now we're in it again.
Yeah,
Like I thought the Cold War was done, but
Right.
we're actually at war with Russia right now.
Yeah.
It's weird. So
Yeah.
you grew up at a time. Tell me about that and how that incident
Yeah.
affected you.
So you grew up in a time
Oops, wrong
when
one.
Khrushchev was had his shoe out and he's hitting the podium at the United Nations, and John F. Kennedy was everything, right? And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in school you had drills, right? Get under your desk, put your hand over your head, and apparently if an ICBM came in, you're okay.
Yeah,
right?
you'd be safe.
You'd be safe, right? So all of this was drilled in you, and you're hearing it from your parents here and there, you're hearing it on TV and all this. So one time I went to Paragon Park, and you can imagine Paragon Park, there are washing lights and all the sounds, and there's all the music playing, the rides, and everything's so bright and so beautiful. All of a sudden, all the lights just went out, and it was dark, and you could hear little screams like, oh, and the first thing I thought of is, we're under nuclear attack. I was like 12 years old. I didn't know, right? And so I went and I walked across the street. I sat on a seawall. I couldn't find anybody. You couldn't see anybody. And I waited for the contrails of ICBMs coming across the ocean. It's a true story. And then about 10 minutes later, the lights all came on. All at once, the music came on. All at once, it was everything was back to life, and I wiped off my tears, and I had a little teddy bear I had won a game in my arm, and I walked back in the park and met my friends, and they all said, "What'd you do? What'd you do when the lights went out?" I said, "Oh, I was just horsing around." I never told them. It was crazy. Yeah.
They even had air raid sirens to go off at once to test them all the time.
Wow.
Back then, I remember. I was a little kid. I was much younger than you, but still, I remember that to test everything. Because they had the Vietnam War going on at that time when you were a teenager.
Different world.
Yeah, there was a different world. It was a different world.
Yeah.
It was the first time when you saw these images coming into your living room.
Yeah.
So I can imagine what the impact they had on you as a teenager at that time. So you kind of like lived. Remember the Wonder Years, the TV show, The Wonder Years? It was set in that same era, that 60s, that late 60s era. So they were maybe just a slightly bit younger than your age, in between you and me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but Paragon Park was a great memory from that back. And QuinZEE was sort of like the gateway to the South Shore, which included Paragon Park, a lot of the South Shore beaches, Nantasket Beach, et cetera, et cetera.
The
So
Shopper's Paradise down there.
yeah, well,
Everybody came
we're
down
gonna
there.
take a look at some old pictures here. So I showed them to Patrick earlier, but QuinZEE from old days, okay, what it used to look like. So now this is the church.
Yellow cab.
Yep.
Where you going?
This is
Yellow
the church.
cab.
There we go.
Yellow cab.
This is where the QuinZEE T is right now. Okay, that's the perspective from that.
And the new city hall isn't there. That's the old city hall.
Yes, the old city hall to the right. Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's take a look again. There's the same church a little bit later, where they had the
That's the
road
bus
going
you
right
used to
through.
jump out of the window on right
Yeah, that's
there.
right. That's your bus. You jumped out of the window.
That
right
looks
there.
like the 1950s.
That is the
Look at his
1950s.
car,
Yeah,
you
that
know?
is the and
Right.
the building in the middle, the taller building, that is now the Bank of America building, but that's housed a lot of banks over the years. A lot of banks.
And that's not even there anymore. That's all.
Oh no, the bank
walkaways now.
building is there. Yeah, but
The
the
bank building's
the
It used to be the church
road,
used to be there.
Yeah, the church is still there. The road that is now there in the picture is now a park.
No, there used to be another church where the bank is, but
Yeah, right behind that. Yes, that's
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. There was another church.
because
Just
that's the first parish church. Which
right,
was
there
the
was
gift
another
of
church.
Adams, yeah.
I think we'll see a picture of that soon. There you go, Brian. Oh, that's Brian. Can you recognize this?
Yes, I can.
Okay, what's to the right? What's to the right, Brian?
Alba.
There you go. That's the first thing he was going to say.
And
Alba.
that's the top of Greenleaf building right there. See
That's
the top
right.
there?
Now
That
the
burnt
tower.
down.
Yeah,
That burnt down. They never built it back because it was too expensive.
right above us.
This place is haunted, guys.
Yes, it is.
So I'm just hoping
I
to get
can
out of
attest
here
to that.
okay.
I can attest to
This
that.
elevator gets a little funny late at night, and it burnt down, and they never replaced it. But that's the center of QuinZEE.
Right.
That's the
Looking
Ford
up-
Model Ts there.
Looking up Hancock Street. So I'd say probably late teens, 19 teens.
Those are all the telephone poles you used to throw your sneakers on
Right.
right there. Remember that when you were a kid?
Yeah, there's no
I got to ask you
telephone
a question.
poles.
You
in-
remember Sawyer's?
Sure.
We used to get your corduroys and stuff for
Sure.
school,
Yeah.
and your Levi's, and then the record store was next to that.
Yeah.
The record store you
I
couldn't go
remember
into. 'cause
Remix.
They,
Remix,
listen, you
definitely.
couldn't go in the record store unless you were an older kid. Because if you were a younger kid, I think you were going there and pilfering stuff.
Well,
Ah.
So, you know.
you remember what was downstairs?
Oh, yeah.
Tom McCann's shoes.
Yeah,
That's right now.
My
Yes, right
first-
below us.
My first Beatle
Literally
boots.
right below us.
Right.
Right.
There's so many other
I have
stories.
a picture of that coming up. So
But
we're gonna
first,
take a
I
look.
want to talk about the way that he conveys the story, the way that it pulls you in. It reminds me a lot of Spielberg when he was younger, talking about places in Maine and Acadia where he wrote. It's all just wonderful stories that you get lost in. And if you're from QuinZEE, you'll recognize. But even if you're not from QuinZEE, it's almost like it's so engaging. It transports you. It sends you somewhere else. And you have a friend here today from Colorado, right?
From Colorado, Bob.
And I mean, you must be sick of hearing
Hey,
these
Bob.
stories.
How are we doing tonight?
But, like,
I'm well. How are you?
you came all the way out from Colorado
I did.
to support your friend
Absolutely.
and see the town that he wrote about and everything.
Absolutely.
That's a testament to the person that Patrick is, and also the ability for that book to sell something so engaging that people want to be a part of it. They want to see it. They
You-
want to feel it.
You don't have to be from QuinZEE to buy the book, and I'm not
That's
trying
what
to
I'm saying,
promote
yeah.
the book. The book. I mean, the money I make on the book is going to, 1 to taxes, 2 to a QuinZEE charity. So
Taxes.
forget me. Forget about it.
Right.
Yeah.
He said it right. Taxes.
Yeah. The taxes. I'm getting it back. It's all coming back.
Yeah.
We got a online question
Yeah.
for you. Okay.
Yes.
Ask Pat about the game day football tradition at QuinZEE High School. That's from Doc. Is
Wow.
it Doc Doherty? Doc Doherty. Did we stump you?
No.
Okay.
Well, you should ask
I-
his friend.
I
His
have-
friend probably knows the
I didn't
story.
ask him that.
Remember, I've told you football stories, but
So how many stories I want to know, how many stories have you heard from this guy? Because he was talking about his dad being a storyteller, his brother being a storyteller. It's something that's in you. It's a part of your brain that you can express yourself through a story. Does he get in environments out in Colorado and just start talking?
Absolutely. Pretty much like he's doing right now. And, he
Nothing's
engages
changed, huh?
you, and you want to listen. You want to listen to the stories. I didn't grow up here, but I can relate to it. So
Right.
I think that's the good part about Pat telling the story.
We have a very colorful mix of ethnicities and backgrounds, and it that's what lends to all these great stories, because you learn so much about other cultures, other people, and just being close to Boston and all the culture we have here. It's amazing to grow up in this area, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I'm not being biased here either.
No.
I'm really not, because I keep hearing the same thing from other people that move here from other parts of the country or the world. Okay, they say, wow, Boston is pretty interesting and all the things it has to offer. I mean, and this is why some of the movies are coming here now. Okay, because if you go out into this area, you see, you've got the Cape, the seashore, you've got mountains, you've got almost every farmland, city, everything in this area. So it makes it so interesting, and within a very short range as well. So you got a lot of experiences in this one basic area, and you're not far from New York either, which is always good for a nice little trip down to New York. Once in a while. We don't want to push New York too much.
Well, yeah, Broadway, and we don't want to push New York because that's where the Yankees live, and we're Red Sox fans.
Yeah, right.
So we're gonna move along.
Yeah, we got to move along.
well, yeah.
So let's take
Immediately,
a look at a couple more.
Yeah.
Let's take a look
so
at a couple more of these.
knowing all these stories, I want to know some more from you.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
absolutely.
Uh-oh. So, Bob, what, they stumped you? Or what?
No.
Well, now
Yeah,
you're part of it, bro.
well,
You're living it.
yeah.
You're in it right
Yeah.
now. You're in QuinZEE.
Yes, I
with the
am.
guy from QuinZEE, with
Right.
another guy from QuinZEE, another
Right.
guy from the South Shore. It's on you
Okay,
right
well,
now.
let's ask him first of all. How long have you been here now, Bob? How many days?
I just got in here
A couple of hours
a
ago.
couple
A couple
of
of hours
I was
ago.
up
Okay.
I got to help the guy out.
I was
And the
up at
first
4
thing we
in the
do is put
morning.
him on a live show to
Right.
talk about a place he's only been here for a couple of
Yeah,
hours.
yeah. A couple of hours. So tell me about QuinZEE, Bob. Go ahead. Let's move on.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, so you had him out in Colorado,
Yes.
and you hung out with him, and you talk about how engaging he is in stories and talking about stuff. And of course, he must love Colorado.
He does.
That's another part of his life. It's another chapter.
It is. Right.
So Colorado. If I was a guy from here, why would I go to Colorado?
For me, it's very peaceful. It's not the hectic life. I mean, it's a great area here,
Yeah.
but it's just a lot.
It's a lot.
And if you go back to Colorado, it's still peaceful. It's getting busier there, but it's still. You could go up to the mountains and just sit by a stream, and just get the peace. of
Even
mind.
Bob's
You hit the nail
demeanor
on
is
the head.
peaceful. I like
No,
it.
I
It's
love,
just
but
like
even his demeanor
mellow.
changed. You see when he started talking about Colorado, his whole demeanor changed.
Yeah, he turned
Like he's
into a
like, hey
river.
guys, like we're just chill.
Mellow.
You guys are like this.
Right.
Like there's stuff going
Right.
everywhere. There's taxes, there's cars, you're jumping out windows.
Just look
It's
at
crazy.
Brian. We are high energy in this
Right.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
when I moved out to Colorado, my hypertension went down about 25%, right?
Right. Yeah.
And people actually said hi to me. I'd walk down the sidewalk, and people going, "Hi, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what does he want?"
Who the hell are you?
Yeah. What's your problem?
Exactly.
Right? And
Yeah.
but yeah, I love Colorado. But one of my stories is about what's home. What's home for us, right? And to me, I have two homes, right? But where I was brought up, where I was made, right? And where all these things that happened to me made me into the man I was, that I later discovered from QuinZEE, right? When I come back, I'm coming back home. And we all have QuinZEEs, no matter where you're from. Trust me, you have great teachers. You have great friends. You had great places where you used to hang out, right? It's all in here. And again, I'm not promoting the book. I'm just telling you, you will love the stories. They make you laugh.
Yeah.
They make you cry. They make you think. Do you remember?
Well, yeah, and there's a lot more people, like he was saying. a lot more people, a lot more things going on. Wow. And one of your friends, because I hung out at the Golden Bowl too. Wow. You know, late night, sterno, cooking teriyaki, hanging out with friends. And one of your friends called it the Star Wars bar. The Star Wars. Because all kinds of characters would show up at the Golden Bowl.
The cantina.
I thought that was unbelievable. Now, we have the Cathay Center. It's the same thing, Mike. It's just the Golden Bowl is what was there before it.
All right, I remember the
Like, I would die to get a poo-poo platter. And back then, it was
Poo-poo platter.
$10. You'd go out and you'd cook on the sterno, bring all your friends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it would be like it'd be like the Whack Pack would show up. People from all over QuinZEE because they would love that Chinese food. And that guy started a tradition that lasted decades, you know.
So we got to talk about the book still right here. I want people
that
to know.
was about the book.
I'm saying where to get the book.
Oh, where to get the book?
Yes. So
let's ask the guy from Colorado.
Oh boy,
we're on him now. Good.
Right.
So Patrick, let's tell them where you can get this book.
You can get the book on Amazon.
Amazon. So
Amazon.
Just search "Growing Up QuinZEE" or your name, right?
Growing Up QuinZEE, but it's QUIN capital ZEE. Because if you come to QuinZEE and you say you're in Quincy, right? Everyone says, "Where are you from?" Not QuinZEE. So it's important you say QuinZEE. Yeah.
Right. So
you know that was in the movie Ted.
Was it?
With Mark Wahlberg and the teddy bear.
I didn't know.
Because his girlfriend that he got married to, that was working in the shopping market, says that girl better not come to QuinZEE. I'll stab her or something like that.
I'll stab her. I'll stab her.
Yeah, she better not come to QuinZEE. When you watch the movie, you'll laugh.
Mark Wahlberg is all like this. QuinZEE. Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. Let's hear Bob's QuinZEE. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh.
Go ahead, say QuinZEE.
QuinZEE.
There you go.
Oh, he's been practicing.
I was schooled on that.
Right. Very good.
Well done.
All right, we got a couple more slides. Let's see. Let's take a look at this one. There's General Dynamics. That's a big part of what QuinZEE used to be back in the actually mostly 19th century, 20th century, the 1900s.
The yard.
Actually, hold on, Brian. Do you know what that building is to the lower part?
Oh, you mean the exchange station right there?
That was the power plant.
Yeah,
power plant. Yeah. And that's the old Four River Bridge down in the bottom there.
Well, they used to go fishing down there. You and your brother used to go fishing down. You had a good story about a striper in the book.
Yep.
But right there, you can go fishing because that's where the water comes in and out of the estuary.
Yeah, definitely.
So depending on what the tide is, you know where the fish are. But we launch out of Captain's Cove in Town River. We take the boat out and go out to the River Harbor right from there.
So this is Hancock Street now. They're tearing down all these buildings and putting some new stuff up. So just so you know, I want to get all these slides in there. Okay, cool.
I remember we found out about that Greek restaurant that was there for many years and had that fire and they had to move to the airport.
Yeah. Right.
You know, that's right where that was.
Yeah, that's right where that was, exactly. So a lot of changes going on in QuinZEE. What do you think about QuinZEE now, Patrick? What's your experience with it now?
Oh, geez, it's changed so much. Shopperstown, USA doesn't exist anymore. Sad to say. A lot of things have changed. I think probably some of them for the better. The demographic has changed, which I think is a good thing. It's just different from when we grew up. We actually grew up in QuinZEE, and we had the Metro program, and we tried to get a black student into our school because we didn't have any, right? And so it's wonderful that that's changed and that there's so much a cultural change that's happened in QuinZEE. I love to see that. It's just some of those things that we used to do and some of the places that we used to love, they're just no longer here.
I grew up with the Medco program in my school.
Medco?
Medco, yeah,
Medco,
Medco. Yeah, that's what it was called.
Right.
Yeah, loved it.
Medco.
Got to share a lot of different things with different people. I had to admire those students too. They had to come all the way from Boston every single day. That was a lot. That was a lot for them to do. Plus, do all their homework.
We only had 2 in '86, 2 or 3.
We had a full busload.
Yeah, we only had 2 or 3 in QuinZEE in '86. But it was not as diverse. It was mostly white Irish. And then you went to St. John's. I went to St. Mary's. We all grew up as Catholic. We had to go to Bible school. All that other stuff.
One more question for Patrick. So, what do you think about Marina Bay, which is brand new since you've got here?
Yeah.
I have to admit, I like Marina Bay. Right? It's great, man. What they've done to Marina Bay is. I think is great from what it used to be, right? Didn't used to be much of anything.
No,
right?
Jordan Marsh Distribution
Yeah, it used to be Marshland.
Right. I used to work at Jordan Marsh Distribution Center. when I was
Really?
That's what it
younger.
used to be
Yeah.
right
Wow.
there. That's
Yeah.
what it.
Did you
that's-
ever go jumping
that's in
off the
beginning.
roof over there?
No, I didn't do
You
that.
didn't do the roof. We did the roof.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
yeah.
So what do you think about the future now? The future of QuinZEE. Where do you see it going?
Well, there's a story in the book, and I hope people, if they read it, it's called Skirmishes of Change. And everything changes, all right? And there's nothing we can do about it. But the essence of QuinZEE is in the shipyard workers and the quarry workers. It's still here. It's like a ghost that's underneath the sidewalks, right? And I don't think, no matter what change happens, QuinZEE as we know it, will never change.
There you go. The heart,
That-
the whole,
that
the
granite-
soul of QuinZEE.
The
Is
soul
that
of
granite-
QuinZEE.
the
Thanks
soul
for
of
saying
QuinZEE.
that.
That
Okay.
granite
The soul of
is
QuinZEE, yeah.
is cornerstones to a lot of national monuments too. All that quarry stone,
Yeah,
Bunker Hill Memorial,
right.
the Pentagon. All these buildings were built with a cornerstone for the Queen.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, we
but
got.
I wanna ask one more question.
We got to cut short, Brian. Unfortunately, yeah.
Are we
sorry.
cutting to a commercial?
No, we're done.
No,
That's
no.
all.
I want to ask about Rocco's in the barbershop.
Okay. Well, quickly, go ahead.
Okay, so the barbershop and Rocco, all the boys living together, and how all the boys stick. Tell me about that.
Rocco's was the neighborhood barbershop, all right? So when you went to the neighborhood barbershop and they had 3 brothers there and they had Rocco, all right? So when you were younger, you went to Rocco and he'd cut your hair and your dad would say, Rocco would say, how do you want him to cut the hair? He'd say, short. That's all he would say, you know, and you sat there and you cried, right? And then when you grew older, the brothers were cool and they used to take over and they, you know, they kind of cooled up your hair or whatever it was, right? And believe it or not, yesterday at one of my book signings, Richard came from Rocco's. He was from Florida, and he came and walked in. He didn't even know I wrote a story about Rocco's. And he read it, and he was just emotional. And he goes, look, he says, there's my name. I says, yeah, and there's
yeah.
your brother's names and your dad's names. It's a great, D. Tomasos.
Daniel and everything
D.
else.
Tomasos.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, we have to go.
Yes.
Next week, we're going to be doing more stuff about QuinZEE. The QuinZEE Community Action Program people are going to be here.
There's a lot of stories.
There's a lot of stories in there.
I can't even tap on half of them. I'm very angry.
Please go check it out. Buy the book on Amazon. Growing Up QuinZEE. Thank you, Patrick, for coming by.
Thank you.
Bob, too.
Bob coming
welcome,
over.
Welcome to
Friends from
QuinZEE.
Florida.
We hope you enjoy
Everyone's
it.
coming up
You
and
got to
read this
catch
book.
some restaurants here, Bob, while you're
Absolutely,
here. Okay.
absolutely.
We'll see you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody. Go Celtics. Good night.